promises are made of payment and those promises aren't kept. And unfortunately, it appears to be a fairly short string that happens then when the promises aren't kept, and I see the file come to me fairly quickly.
Right.
And once the file does come to me, it is usually a situation where those discussions then are not revisited.
Oh, so there's no opportunity to
let's try
make
it
the
again.
same deal with you?
No.
Right.
And at that point, and in many instances, Steve will take on the different role of defending the case because
now it is a court case.
It is a court case that I am hired by the lender to initiate, to prepare that foreclosure complaint, to serve that foreclosure complaint, and then hopefully, and I say hopefully, that they will consult a lawyer to have some of these questions addressed, whether it's from Steve's vantage point of defending the foreclosure case or from possibly Kent Gartner's standpoint of coming up with a completely different remedy to give them more opportunity, and that's in the form of the bankruptcy. Very,
very important. And I'd like to take this opportunity to bring Kent Gartner into this conversation. Kent, would you call your office sort of the last stop on the line?
Potentially, yes.
You know, how can you contribute, help us out here? What do you think? What happens when a client comes to you? What do you typically see when a client's coming to you and he or she is considering bankruptcy that involves a foreclosure event?
Well, first of all, bankruptcy is a federal court action. It's a very powerful tool, and filing of any bankruptcy will cause what they call an automatic stay to come into effect.
What does that mean?
The automatic stay is an injunction which stops all creditor activity against the debtor, which is the person filing the bankruptcy. There are several types of bankruptcies out there, but the two that affect consumers the most, Chapter 7 and Chapter 13, one of which, Chapter 13, is particularly important in trying to save your house in foreclosure. The filing of a Chapter 13 bankruptcy stops Pat's lawsuit in its tracks while the bankruptcy court sorts out the rights of the individuals. In a Chapter 13, what you're going to try to do is you're going to take the arrearage, that is the amount that you were behind on your mortgage, and you're going to try to catch it up. But in bankruptcy court, you can do that over a much, much longer period, up to 60 months in some instances, but usually 30 to 36 months. You can cure that mortgage arrearage at a much smaller payment per month than Pat's lender might otherwise want. Perhaps they would want it cured in 6 months. Well, if you're $10,000 behind in your mortgage payments and you have to cure that in 6 months and make your normal monthly mortgage payment, that's a pretty hefty payment.
Yes, it is.
You take the same $10,000 arrearage and you have to cure it over 30 months. It's a lot smaller, and it's something the client can do. So when they come into our office, we want to know, first of all, what caused the arrearage. Is that problem probably behind them? Do they have a regular source of income? And if we could, do they have enough money that if we stretched out this repayment over, say, 30, 36 months, do they have the net income that can pull that off?
It's a very similar conversation that I was having with them, Susan. Can you see that?
I do. I see how this is all connected up, and I'm so glad that we have brought you all together here with us today. I think this is a very important conversation for our viewers to understand. We're going to go to commercial break, and we will be back very shortly with more legal action. Please stay tuned.
Do you need guidance on a foreclosure or bankruptcy matter? Have you been hurt at work or suffered a personal injury? Do you need help filing for a divorce? The Lawyer Referral Service is a public service of the DuPage County Bar Association. Please call us from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday at 630-653-9109. Se habla español. To access the service online, log on to www.dcba.org and click on Find a Lawyer.
Hello and welcome back to Legal Action. We're here today discussing the very important topic of mortgage foreclosure. When we left off at the last break, we were talking with attorney Kent Gertner about the topic of bankruptcy and the option of bankruptcy. Kent, I'd like to go back to what we were talking about, because having listened to Pat and Steve here today, and using my scenario, which is I'm a homeowner, I've lost my job, I don't have yet a new job with an equal salary, let's say, and I'm slipping, things are bad. Why wouldn't I start at your office with bankruptcy?
Well, you may want to do that. At least get an opinion. Talk to a lawyer so you know what your alternatives are, and if you cannot file bankruptcy, what the reasons are that you can't. Chapter 13 requires a regular source of income into the household. It doesn't have to be two, it could be one, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a job. It could even be gifts from parents or relatives. But you have to have enough income that over the life of the plan you can catch up the arrearage and pay to your creditors at least as much as they would get if you file a Chapter 7, which is beyond the scope of what we're doing today. But there are parameters that are involved, and you need to talk to an attorney to see what you qualify for. That being said, bankruptcy does have a negative effect on your credit, as does foreclosure. Before you do commit to the bankruptcy, it certainly doesn't hurt to try to work things out with the lender, which moves us right back to what Pat was saying, is have a meaningful conversation with your lender, and you don't want to go down the bankruptcy path unless you really have to. But if you have to, it's a marvelous tool to save the house. You may find a situation also where perhaps you just don't have the income to do a Chapter 13, or perhaps the house is such that you just can't afford the house anymore. If there's very little equity in it and it's not worth selling, there are other options out there in Chapter 7 or in what they call now short sales that could be very helpful to you.
So it would be a worthwhile venture then to contact your office and to sit down and have a conversation with you. The conversation doesn't necessarily have to lead to a bankruptcy.
Absolutely.
Right?
I would say we talk to, of every 10 people we talk to, we might have 5 who do a bankruptcy. The other 5 say thank you very much and they go on their way, and perhaps we hear from them 6 months from now. Perhaps we don't, but you know, they leave better educated, and I think most attorneys are willing to talk to somebody coming in for a reasonable period of time and educate them about what they need to be aware of.
Right. I think that's so important. And I know that today we've heard sort of 3 different perspectives about mortgage foreclosure. And I would like now just to sort of open up the floor to you guys, Steve, Pat, Kent.